here. Oh, duh. Before I get started, hola Candidos, Nikki here. So a lot of you guys have been requesting today to talk about my depression, because I have a lot of it. And then a while ago I was telling you guys about how I got my like emotional stuff from my parents. So like when it comes to like my parents and like those type of things, like my dad deals with things in ways that are just like, he doesn't know how to respond to emotions. Like if you're like crying or anything like that, like my dad's just kind of like, I don't know what to do with you right now. That's where he's at. So he like makes a joke or an offhand comment that's just like, whoa, dad, wrong time. Okay, so usually he makes like an offhand comment that you're just kind of like, no dad, no. Well, I sort of get that from him, because usually when it's like someone's crying or someone's doing something, like I get into this stage of just like, like, do I hug you? Do I not hug you? Do I like pat your shoulder? Do you want me to hug you? Like, do you need food? Like, you know, it goes through these stages of just like, I don't know how to respond to you right now. So then I'll try to make a joke about it, and usually the joke is like not appropriate. You know, they're like, no, and it's like, shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. Well, so I got that from him. And then from my mom, I got, like, from her, she doesn't really like discussing how she feels at all, really. Like, my mom, she's one of those people who's like, she will always be happy for you. Always, no matter what you do. But like, she just, what's the word I'm looking for? She tends to keep to herself when it comes to her emotions. Like, there's only a few people who really know what she's feeling, but for the most part, even those people, she won't really like tell them how she's feeling. And I get that from her. Like, it's like I don't feel the need or want to tell someone what I'm feeling, because then I don't want them to be like, oh, poor him. Like, no, I don't want you to be like, poor me. What I want you to do is just kind of like, oh, we'll let it go kind of thing, you know? But like with Martin, it comes to be a problem sometimes, because when I get overly emotional, because I tend to keep like everything down when I'm angry, when I'm irritated, when I'm depressed, anything, like I always keep it down, you know? And like when we get into an argument or anything, and like sometimes like he'll start crying in front of me, and like I'm just like there, like stonewall it, because I'm like, I don't want, I think I get it from my dad, but it's like I don't want to seem weak in a way, even though I know it's not weak to cry or what have you. It's like in front of other people, like I'm just like, no, you won't see me cry unless it's like something that's very upsetting, like a death in the family or something along those lines. And then yes, you will see me cry. But I mean, like, for the most part, I try not to. I gotta work on that a lot. But mainly, back onto the topic of depression. My depression started when I was way young. My mom said when I was a kid, I used to be like she was like, you were like a golden like ray of light. She goes, you were always smiling, always happy, always like running around to people. And like this one time at a family event, like in the backyards there were no fences kind of thing. It like connected all of the neighbors' yard, and there was a party going on back there. And apparently as a kid I ran to the neighbor's house, and the neighbor, she was like this older woman who was like doing her gardening or whatever, and I apparently ran up to her, helped her with her gardening, and then she brought me inside and gave me like milk and cookies. Well, my mom was like looking for me, and the neighbor popped out and she's like, oh, he's in here, he was just helping me. She goes, so I gave him some cookies and milk and like sent me on my way, and I'm like smiling, waving bye, you know. And as a kid, like, my parents would be like, you're not allowed to leave the yard. And it's like, whenever there were people walking by, I wouldn't leave the yard. Like, I would stay at the edge of the yard and the sidewalk. Because they're like, you know how they say, like, you're not allowed to talk to strangers. You're not allowed to do this. Well, I was like, okay, I won't go onto the sidewalk because that's not the yard. So I would stand on the edge of the, like, sidewalk to the yard. And whenever someone strange would pass by, I'd be like, hi, I'm Nick, what's your name? And they'd be like, they'd tell me their name, and then like my dad would be like, I told you not to talk to strangers. And I'd be like, well, he's no longer a stranger, this is like Bob, you know. And my dad would be like, oh god, like what, you know. But that was like one of the main things that I used to do. Well, after a situation that happened as a kid, which I will not get into, I only say that for like really close friends and stuff. But after that situation, I grew quiet, I guess. That's, I think, when depression hit, was mainly when I was that young, because I just didn't know what to do with myself anymore. So gradually I just really stopped going outside. Like, I used to hang out outside all the time, and now I don't. I prefer being in my home where I feel safe. Over at my mom's house, like, my home was like my room. That's where I was practically all the time. And I'd be reading books because I preferred fantasy to reality. So a lot of my childhood was actually me reading. A lot of my childhood memories, I rarely remember things at all. I know my dad beat my ass a couple of times, but mainly that was because I deserved it. I'm not even gonna lie, I was really not a good child sometimes. Like, I'm not even gonna say I was like, oh no, my daddy just beat me for fun. No, he did not. He did it when I was a troublemaker. And I was a troublemaker a lot. Mainly because I had two sisters, an older and a younger, Jessica and Emily. And I was the middle child. So you got Jessica, who's the older sister, who got kind of like most of the attention. And then Emily, who was like the crybaby little sister. And like, I'm not even kidding you, she got most of my mom's attention. She really did. Oh, that little brat. We tied her up with pantyhose one time and threw her into the boat. But the funny thing about that situation was we didn't just tie her up with it. Like, we were like, hey, do you want to play a game? And she's like, yeah. And we're like, okay, go get your pantyhose real quick and we'll tie you up and like put you in the boat, but you only be out there for a little bit. And she was like, okay. So we tied her up, threw her into the boat, and like 30 minutes later, my mom comes home and she's like, why am I hearing crying from the garage? And we're like, I don't know. And then she goes out there and Emily's like bawling. And we're just sitting in there. We got in trouble for that one. But then Emily would do this as a kid. She'd like run up to one of us and like deck us. So like she'd hit us and she'd hit us good. And then she'd run away crying to my mom. And then my mom would look at us and be like, you go to your room. And then you'd look at Emily's face and she'd be like, and like smiling like over my mom's shoulder while my mom's like carrying her away. And we're just like, oh, you little shit. But mainly I did stay in my room a lot or go on the computer to like play video games. Like, I was that kind of kid. I put my focus into a different reality. So like when I read a book, like when I'm in my book, like I am in this book. My imagination, my being is whoever I'm reading as this character. This character is now me, and I'm no longer in this reality. So Martin will try to talk to me while I'm reading a book, and I'm just like, and it's mainly like I'm not listening to you at all. Like I hear you speaking, but I can't. My mind's not registering what you're saying. And he gets very mad about that, but I'm like, I can't help it. Like I keep telling him, I'm like, whenever I'm reading, like, or on my phone playing a video game, I was like, you have to like make sure I put it down. Like once I put it down, then you can speak to me. I was like, if I haven't put it down and it's still in my hands, I am not paying attention at all. My focus is here. And like, he gets really, really mad. But I can't help it. Like, my mind is involved in this now. But as a kid, yeah, I got major depression, so I stayed in my room a lot. I didn't really hang out with a lot of people. Like, I no longer knew how to, especially guys, like with men or guy folk, I don't know how to talk. Really? I'm just like, what do you say? What do you discuss? Like, I don't know what you like. I know what I like. And if you don't like what I like, then I have no idea what I'm dealing with now. You know? And then, like, a lot of times as a kid, I hung out with girls. Because girls I felt safer with than with boys. But I did have a lot of, like, guy friends. But we weren't, like, wasn't really, like, anything like that. It was just, like, I don't know, like, I saw them at school and I was like, hey, and that was about it, you know, but mainly I did hang out with girls and stuff. Part of my depression, it got majorly bad in high school, because I didn't realize as a kid, like, that I was gay until, like, I sort of, like, found out from my friend, and she was just like, are you gay? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then she had said, like, she goes, do you like guys? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I've never been on a date at this point. I've never had a date, never been on a date. Like, I had girlfriends from, like, middle school, like, kindergarten, all of that type of stuff. I always had girls who were my girlfriend. But, like, I've never done anything with them besides, like, kiss them on the cheek. You know, or hold their hand any further than that, and I was just kind of like, no, that's weird. Like, what? No, that's gross. You know, and like, I didn't realize as a kid, because how I was my sisters and everybody would talk about a guy, and they'd be like, oh, look, he's really cute, and like, in my mind, I'd be like, he is really cute. Like, he's really cute. But then it'd be like a girl, and I'd be like, oh, she's so cute, I like her outfit. Like, it was like a difference in my mind. But I didn't realize, like, that was very different and not the norm for people. So in high school, like, I've come to terms with it as, like, there are two stages. I don't really like Valentine's Day for one reason, and that was in high school. I'd asked this guy out after I had, like, came out and everything. He was another gay guy, and he had said, you know, oh, I'll be your date, we'll meet over here at like, the quad or whatever, like, right between my last class. And I was like, okay, not a problem. Like, I've never done this before. And I waited there for about 2 hours, and he still never showed up. So I just went home, and, like, that's how it was. Like, I no longer know what to do. So when it comes to Valentine's Day, I just, like, I don't really feel it. Not a lot. But the other thing that happened in high school was, I got, majorly bullied in high school. This guy, Chad, I found out that I was crushing on him, but it was, like, it wasn't, like, a big thing. It was, like, I find him very attractive, and that was it. Well, he had my same PE class. So him and a bunch of his like high school friends for PE, if I was alone, they'd surround me and like start pushing me, start calling me names, and like they did a lot of that. And like my relationship with my dad at this point was non-existent. Like honestly, at that time I hated my dad. I really did, or at least I thought I did. He was real with you in a way that he'd be like, you're doing it this way and this is how it's gonna be. You know, like he'd tell you how it is. And like for him, I never told him I came out. Like I told my mom and she was like, oh, maybe it's just a phase kind of thing. But with my dad, I never told him because he would always be like, fuck the fags and like stuff like that. You know, and I think now he's gotten sort of comfortable with it, but not as like for those of the gays who are probably, you know, running around naked during parades. No, I don't think he approves, but I'm not gonna run around naked, so I think he's okay with that problem. But, me and him did not have like a very good relationship until after high school. During this point, my older sister knew of some of the problems going on with me. Like a lot of her friends were telling her, and at this point I was a sophomore and she was a senior. So around this point she sort of like helped me out. She had some of her friends would bully the other guys back, or not really bully them, but she was telling most of her friends, like, if you don't help out my brother right now, I can guarantee you something will happen to you, kind of thing. And she'd do it in that sort of way. Like, my sister was a bitch, but she was mine. What can you do? Well, one of our friends, Bianca, who is like our sister, but not really our sister, if you know what I mean. You have one of those. Well, she was in my PE class too. And the one time the guys had surrounded me, she had come up and she had pushed them all back, kind of thing. And she's like this Puerto Rican, not really short, but short Puerto Rican girl. And she was like pushing them back, being like, what? You guys are a bunch of bitches, like blah, blah, blah. Like she was cussing at these guys. Well, the one time we were walking to my English class, and this one guy from the group had like stopped in front of us, spat in my face, called me a faggot, and then slapped me. And at this point, I was dealing with this for maybe about 3 or 4 months. So finally I was like, I'm done. And like, I threw my backpack, like I thought I threw it to the ground, but apparently Bianca caught it. And then she stepped in front of me, because at this point I had jumped up, like I was about to fucking jump on this kid and start swinging at him. And she caught me. And like, she was carrying me to class as I'm screaming, like, let me just hit him. Like, I want to hit him, let me just hit him. And she was like, no, it's not worth it. Like, they're not worth it. Kind of thing. So I never did hit anyone. I wanted to. Never did. But at that point, that was when it really got a bit different. Because I was dealing with my first, like, breakup around the same time from this guy who I thought I loved, but didn't. And that's when I started, like, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. So they'd get overwhelming, and I was in like this gray haze of just, I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. I got a razor blade and I started cutting my arms. I have like scars like all over my arms. I have burn marks. I have scars on my chest, some of my legs, and mainly I would do it because it would help me to focus on like a physical aspect rather than emotional. So instead of dealing with my emotions, I just sort of locked it down and focused only on like a physical pain kind of thing. And like in that box, I kept that thing straight down. Like I still, like whenever I get too emotional, like I just, like I get in this stage of just like I don't know what I'm feeling right now. And that does tend to be a problem. But I'm just like, I haven't been cutting. Haven't. I gave that up after a while. The one thing that I can say about cats is I love them for the fact that they have really sharp claws. Because instead of me cutting or whatever, like, and Athena will fuck me up, you know? And it's like a complete accident on her part, but sometimes it's like she'll do it when I need it. Or like when I want to like go and cut myself or whatever, and she'll do it, and then I'm like, oh my, okay, I can focus on this right now, and then kind of like search through my emotions to see where I'm at. I'm not the best at dealing with my own emotions. Yeah, depression for me was like a black sinkhole kind of thing. Like, during this time, I was over at my parents' house in my, like, blood blue room. That was the color. It was really a pretty blue. And I had a blanket over the window. I would be sleeping all day. Like, I'd come home from school and just sleep the day away. I'd cry a lot, or I'd go to class, and in my class, like, I'd just sleep. Through basically like all of my classes. I would sleep through them all. I wouldn't, like, there was only a couple like where I'd wake up and actually pretend like I was paying attention, but I wouldn't do the homework. I wouldn't do a lot of the things that I needed to do, mainly because I was just like, I can't right now. Like, I just can't, you know? It was things like that. And I mean, it's gotten better, because I don't really feel like that depressed a lot. Like, I do have my funks here and there, but it's never like what it used to be. Like, it's not there anymore. I don't know what else to really say. I'm not really good at this. If you guys come up with any questions or anything, I can answer them. But other than that, this is just sort of me, you know. I dealt with depression in not the best way, because I didn't really talk about it, and I probably should have. If anything, I should have probably seen a counselor or like a therapist to actually like go through this kind of thing, because I won't lie. Part of the depression was actually being gay. Like, I was always feeling like I'd be like that disappointment to my family, you know? Like, I was the last of the Atkins. Like, if I'm gay, I can't carry on the family line. And, you know, my dad would always say something about that, like carrying on the family line. And that grew to be sort of upsetting for me, because even if they do carry the Atkins blood from, like, you know, Jessica and Emily, they won't be an Atkins, you know? And for me, like, it just sucks, because I want to have a kid, but I don't want to with a woman, you know? I mean, I know there's different ways to do it, or what have you, but that's all like really, really expensive, and I don't have the money for any of that. Like, I don't. And so part of it was like not being able to carry on the family line, being like a huge disappointment to my parents, like, for being gay, because I always thought like, oh, you know, your parents wanted better for you, and here you are, like this, you know. I've grown to really accept myself over the years. Like, just embrace yourself, I guess. Like, you have that, like, you inside, you know? The one that is kind of like that weak one. You know what I mean? Like, you put on this tough exterior on the outside, like, I'm a badass bitch, like, I will fuck your ass up. And then on the inside, you have that sort of, like, I guess, the child in you. You know? The child in you who's, like, still in that corner crying, like, I don't know what to do right now. Sometimes you just gotta let that kid know, hey, we're okay. Like, I accept you, you're totally fine. We're in a good place right now. And that's where I feel with Martin. Like, I do feel like in a safe place. I mean, it gets really difficult to, like, talk about myself or my feelings with him. And I know that, like, really upsets him because he thinks, like, I'm pushing him away. Or he thinks, like, you know, like, I don't want to talk about it. And I don't. Because I just don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to tell you, like, oh, I'm feeling really upset right now. Because then to me, like, that's like giving up control that I've had over myself in a while. And I don't like to do that. Even though I know I should, I really, really don't like to give up the control that I've had. Because the control I've had for a while now is sort of what has, like, kept me going on. You know, like, I put my focus into other things so I can still do the day-to-day stuff instead of just doing, like, what I used to do, where I'd lay in bed depressed, and then when things got too tough, like, I'd start cutting. Like, you know, he started dating me, and when he saw the cuts on my arm, like, he's like, I don't like these, like, I want you to cover it up. You know what I mean? Or not really cover it up, but I mean, like, they have, like, a type of cream or whatever that, like, gets rid of them. Part of me wants to use it, but the other part of me is like, I can't. Like, these are medals of honor. And I'm not talking like, oh, I'm so proud of this kind of thing. I'm talking about when I look at these, sure, they make me upset because I'm like, look at what you did to yourself. But the other part of me is like, look at what you've overcome. You didn't try to kill yourself. You didn't try to give up on yourself. You just, like, made a mark and continued going. Like, that's what it means to me. It's like, it was my way of carrying on. And to me, that's really, really good. For those of you who are really depressed, on the verge of, like, half the time you feel like you want to kill yourself and the other half you don't, or, you know, those kind of things, I do say, if you are feeling suicidal, talk to someone. Like, find a person that you trust, like your mom, or, you know, and just let it out. Cry and tell them what you're feeling, because killing yourself is definitely not the way to do it. Like, you're not a coward. You are a strong, important person, and killing yourself is just, it's you giving up on yourself. And I don't think you should give up on yourself at all. Regardless of what anyone else says, I don't think you should give up on yourself, because you are a wonderful, beautiful person. And I don't know you, but I know you. You are like me in a way, and you are a strong, important person, and you don't deserve to kill yourself. Like, not, you don't deserve it, but you deserve to live your life. And I know that's hard, especially if you are really depressed and feeling like you're gonna kill yourself, but you deserve to live. You do. That's why I say, if you are feeling that way, talk to someone. And just know that I won't give up on you at all. I believe in you. I believe in anyone who has depression, that you are worth it. you are actually worth your life. So, I'm really bad at this. Sorry. I was all over the board, wasn't I? Sorry, guys. Well, that's it for now. Hasta luego. I'll see you guys later. I don't know what else he's got planned today, but this is what I had planned. I was talking about doing it for a while, but I just never really sat down to do it because I was just like, I don't know what to say. But now that I have, we know. You know? That was just weird. Okay. Alright. Well, I love you guys. You're all strong, beautiful people. Don't give up on yourselves. Because I don't give up on you. Bye.